Warning, this episode contains mild to heavy explicit spoilers. Listen at your own risk.
Reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is the Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
A young woman, drifting and disaffected by the loss of her mother, takes solace in the embrace of her friend. In a way to find an escape from the bleakness of her mind, she encourages the closest to her to take part in an internet sensation of talking to the dead with mixed results. That is the premise of RACKARACKA's first feature, Talk to Me. Danny and Michael Philippou have ascended from YouTube videos and have crafted a movie that actually looks cinematic, much more so than any of their contemporaries who stick to extreme close-ups and strange handhelds. Talk to Me is aesthetically at least pleasing to the eye. As for the content itself, that's up to the viewers. I can't help but point out the similarities to 2015's David Robert Mitchell's lensed first feature film, It Follows. Now, how are these two connected? They both have a generally unrehashed premise that hides its borrowing of other films in sleek camera work, good editing, and acting. They are either incredibly loved or hated in the horror world. I personally liked It Follows a lot, although it is essentially The Ring if instead of Sadako the ghost is of an STD. But color me surprised when I saw so much backlash for the film online, with people upset at its cockamamie bad plan around a swimming pool finale. Talk to Me has the same sort of reverence online, leaning towards more people enjoying it, but I have been reading some social media posts about walking out from the film. I can't imagine this film having any walkouts. I've seen Halloween Kills and I wanted to walk out of that, and I saw that in my house. There's nothing glaringly offensively bad to me in this feature, but it is becoming similar in divided viewers for these two films. Back to the movie itself. We follow young Mia, played by Sophie Wilde, a meek, friendly young woman who is in the constant companionship of her best friend Jade, Alexandra Jensen, and her brother Riley, Joe Bird. She has somewhat been soft-adopted into this family since she no longer has a close relationship with her father after the loss of her mother due to unaliving herself. We're given a character moment early on when Mia and Riley cross paths with an injured kangaroo that she doesn't have it in her to put the poor animal out of its misery. Whether this is supposed to show her kindness or weakness, I have no clue. It doesn't factor into the film other than a creepy moment. There's a lot of that in this film. Now, for the neato gimmick this film uses, much like the STD ghost of It Follows, Talk to Me sort of is a divination rod of a plaster cast hand supposedly hardened around the actual flesh of a dubious unknown individual. This hand is being used in a recent viral video-laden parties where subjects shake the hand and give it commands to speak with and then be possessed by the dead. Retreated to Mia breaking out of her awkward shell as she takes the challenge, gripping the hand and becoming struck by another spirit. I will say that these sequences are quite fun, and Sophie Wilde with her wide eyes looks quite cool with her blacked out contact lenses in possession mode. The specters we see throughout the film are just one step below of any Blumhouse film and are the least scariest types of ghosts in cinema. In fact, all the ghosties in this film feel forced and flat. The movie can have an interesting atmosphere at times, but then suddenly a rejected character from 13 Ghosts appears to try and spook young Mia. Things come to an head when Riley comes into contact with Mia's mother, relaying a message that ultimately puts the poor boy on the precipice of the beyond. Subsequently, the final 20 or so minutes of this film is Mia and company scrambling to save Riley and escape the evil influence of the hand's ever-reaching presence. I understand now why people were so mad about It Follows. While I disagreed with them, I get it. Talk to Me comes with an unprecedented good word of mouth, with such praises as this being the best A24 horror since Hereditary. Now, that is talking big, and I disagree completely. It's a perfectly adequate 2000s-era schlock horror movie. That's it. If it seems I have skipped other characters and interactions that move the story along, it's not that incredibly important to the film. The opening, which features a previous user of the hand, goes insane, stabs his brother before knifing himself in the face. The stabbed brother surviving and giving useless exposition, information that helps no one. The two weirdo non-jock jocks that throw the party, Haley and Joss, played by Zoe Tarakis and Chris Alozio, do scumbag characters justice, but are as irrelevant to the plot as Riley's best friend. The wandering around in the hospital sequences, while the reflection of Mia's mother, played by Alexandria Stephenson, are devoid of any real creepiness, an almost effective scare that actually takes from Hereditary of a creature emerging from the darkness loses its power once the dark minion is revealed and proceeds to go Tarantino on Jade's boyfriend's foot. He's played by Otis Jahanji. While Riley's possession is particularly effective and brutal, it's the only legit gruesome goodness in the film. We're stuck with more boring problems like, does Mia like Daniel or Riley? Will Jade's mom, played by Miranda Otto, collecting a check, ever stop being mad? Miranda Otto's like an actual great actor, and well, at least she got a paycheck. The film is so well spoken about, I only find myself in confusion of what modern horror fans enjoy. The safe scares of Blumhouse films, which this movie gives, the gruesome body horror of Terrifier films, which this movie almost does. It's rated R for, I assume, the Riley scene, but there's nothing other than scissors to the gullet that makes this a graphic film. The concept is nice, but the existential dread is not as apparent as Final Destination. These kids never question that one day they will be answering on the other side of the plaster hand, which is probably the neatest reveal of the film's finale. The doomed Mia's quest to free Riley, while adding some excitement to the film's closing section, is not enough to push the film beyond its small scope. There's an emptiness to this film that is a strong concept, weak adaptation. I went in more and do not really have anything against the filmmakers. It's for myself believing the word of mouth that this film received. It's doubled its budget on release, which is a great thing for a small horror and its director, so that's awesome, but I personally want more to film with an interesting plot. There's a little gross out humor, including dogs. The characters' interactions feel necessary. The scares simply are not in it. Mia's descent into tragic madness are the only redeeming places that the film went to, but by then the movie was already done. 5.5 out of 10, smashing your head into a wall because that's what the ghosts want you to do. This has been the Horror Deconstruction.